According to global statistics, the flu season peaks between December and February of the following year. Seasonal allergies, sinusitis, and swollen tonsils can become even more commonplace at this time. How can you shore up your defenses against these ills? In this episode of Living Healthy, HD Jazz speaks with Associate Lecturer in the Department of Surgery at the University of the West Indies and specialist Dr. Francis Barnett.
We're in the beautiful hills of St. Andrew. Can you see the fabulous view behind me? And this morning, I'm speaking with our guest, Dr. Francis Barnett. He's an otolaryngologist. Big word.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Glad to see you. Can you tell me what that word means, otolaryngologist?
Otolaryngologist is a fancy term for ENT surgeon. And we are primarily a surgical field. And yes, everybody knows the ear, nose, throat surgeon, but classically we were head and neck surgeons and still are. We do a lot of things outside of the ear and the nose and the throat. So we deal also with a lot of neck disease, so goiters, parathyroid disease, head and neck cancers, which is a big part of what we deal with. But otolaryngologist is just a fancy term, really, and it truly belittles everything that we do.
Well, I learned something today. Well, I'm not going to focus so much on the ears, but noses. So many people have issues with noses. I work in the mouth, but I look up noses all day long. Tell me some of the challenges, some of the common problems why we are not able to breathe properly through our noses.
Oh, stuffy nose is a very common symptom and a miserable symptom also. And one of the commonest causes of having a stuffy nose is allergies, allergic rhinitis, which is allergies affecting the nose. And these allergies set up inflammation. And so the inflammation leads to swelling of the lining of the nose. And so it narrows the air space within the nose. So there is not enough space to breathe through. Something else that is common is sinusitis. And this is very, very common. The sinuses are air-filled spaces within the bones of the face, and they open into the nasal cavity. And the sinuses the lining of the sinuses produce mucus. And this, when the sinuses become infected or inflamed, pus and so on can form within the sinuses, and this can drain into the nasal cavity and leading to inflammation in the nose again. And so this inflammation in the nose is what sets up a lot of this stuffiness, the drainage to the back of the throat, pain over the face, you know. And these are symptoms that commonly go with the stuffy nose. In kids, something that is common for a stuffy nose is adenoids. And these adenoids are swellings that are behind the nose. And we really can't see them by looking through the nose or in the back of the throat. But sometimes these symptoms that I just mentioned, the stuffiness, the runny nose, etc., can imply that this is there. So these would be probably the three most common causes of stuffiness that we have,
Okay, what about the person who maybe was playing football at 11, got hit in the nose, it was swollen, seemed to have resolved itself, but possibly a fracture that wasn't healed. Would that be a challenge?
Yes, that definitely is. The nose is separated by a septum, something that divides it into two halves. And sometimes this septum or column it fractured when you were playing sports, or it can even fracture while coming through the birth canal.
Oh.
And so it's pushed over to one side and so narrows the nasal cavity on one side. And so this can cause stuffiness, right? But it's not as common in our population. Black people have a bigger nose than the white person, and in Caucasians it tends to cause a bigger problem than it does in our population.
Well,
but it is possible.
That is so good to know. So, I always hear the word adenoids, but I link it to tonsils and adenoids.
Right.
So it's possible that the adenoids are problematic, but not the tonsils.
Interesting that you said that. The tonsils and adenoids are the same type of tissue. They are lymphoid tissue, and so often we do expect that if one is big, the other is big, but it's not always the case.
Listen, I'm out of here. Check us the next time. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and our LFD website.